Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, how much could depending on your location. Please join in the struggle to liberate our people from the contraption. Like and share videos. Nuro luayo, na nuro luayo. Nuro luayo, na nuro luayo. Ọ dịghị mgbe ike mmadụ ga-akarị ike Chukwu. Ọ dịghị mgbe ike Naịjirịa ga-akarị ike Biafra. Nna nuro, onye kere ụwa nuro luayo. Nna nuro, Olisa bi n'igwe nụrụ akwa yo. Now, the news update.
They said it never happened. They said it was legal. They tried to silence the truth. But now, a high court in Kenya has spoken. And what it revealed might shake the very foundations of power in Africa. Nnamdi Kanu abducted, detained, auditioned to Nigeria in the dead of night. For years, IPOB screamed injustice. Now, a court agrees, and the names involved will shock you. Pushpin, stay with us. This is not just a story of political power, it's a global reckoning. In June 2021, Nnamdi Kanu, leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, vanished. He had traveled to Kenya alone, quietly. But what happened next wasn't a lawful arrest. It was an international abduction. Kanu was seized by unidentified men, held incommunicado. No warrants, no charges, no access to a lawyer, not even contact with his family. He simply disappeared. And when he resurfaced, it was in Nigeria, blindfolded, handcuffed, and paraded before cameras like a trophy. The Nigerian government claimed he had been extradited. But behind the scenes, human rights groups were outraged. Legal experts called it a rendition, an illegal form of cross-border kidnapping. The Kenyan government stayed silent. The Nigerian government declared victory. But IPOB launched a global outcry. And they had a question. If Kanu's arrest was legal, why did it feel like a covert operation? Fast forward 3 years later, the answer has come. And it came from an unexpected place, a Kenyan courtroom. June 27, 2025. Nairobi High Court. Justice Isi Mwita steps into the courtroom. His ruling. A quiet thunderclap across Africa. The abduction and detention of Nnamdi Kanu was unlawful. The rendition to Nigeria, illegal. The process violated his fundamental human rights. Let that sink in. This wasn't just a technical error. It was a criminal breach involving two sovereign governments. The Kenyan court declared that Kanu's basic rights under Kenyan and international law were trampled. And it didn't stop there. The court awarded him 10 million Kenyan shillings, about 119 million naira, in compensatory damages. A symbolic but powerful declaration: what was done to Kanu was wrong. But that's not all. Justice Mwita pointed the finger, subtly, but unmistakably, at the administrations of former President Uhuru Kenyatta in Kenya and former President Muhammadu Buhari in Nigeria. Political giants, now implicated in a covert international crime. Studio microphone: this ruling is not just a vindication of Kanu, IPOB said, but a historic exposure of international injustice. And just like that, the narrative flipped. This ruling could open the floodgates. International lawsuits, human rights sanctions, global accountability. IPOB has vowed to pursue justice on the world stage, at the ICC, the UN, and anywhere those responsible can be named and held accountable. This is more than a win for one man. It's a strike against impunity. A warning to those who believe power gives them immunity. direct hit, and it raises a chilling question. How many others have been silenced, abducted, disappeared, without the world knowing? And what happens next, when the courts finally listen? Let's rewind the clock. It's mid-2021. The world is distracted. COVID-19 still rages. The news cycle spins endlessly. But behind closed doors, something quiet and sinister unfolds. A plane lands in Kenya. Not military. Not flashy. But according to whistleblowers, intelligence agents were on board. They weren't there for a diplomatic mission. They were there for a man, a voice too powerful to ignore. Nnamdi Kanu. Sources allege that top security officials from Nigeria held secret meetings in Nairobi, no press, no official records. What were they negotiating? His capture. His extraction. A move outside the boundaries of law. Some say the operation was greenlit at the highest levels of both governments. Backhand index pointing right, not just intelligence cooperation, but executive coordination. And here's where it gets darker. No extradition hearing was held. No Kenyan court order was issued. No Interpol warrant was presented. Just like that, a man with British citizenship was disappeared. Studio microphone, this was not an arrest, said barrister Aloy Ejimeka, Kanu's lead counsel. This was a transnational crime, coordinated between two governments bent on silencing dissent. For years, both the Kenyan and Nigerian governments denied involvement. But emails, leaked memos, and intelligence reports painted a different picture. And now, a court has confirmed what many feared: it wasn't a conspiracy theory. It was real. The court's decision is out, and the dominoes are beginning to fall. But what does it mean for Nigeria? For Kenya? For international law? Let's start with the immediate consequences. Coalition 1. Global legal pressure. IPOB's legal teams in the UK, US, and Canada are preparing new suits, not just against governments, but against individuals. This could mean travel bans, arrest warrants, and for the first time, possible charges at the International Criminal Court. Coalition 2. Human rights groups mobilize. Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, and several African watchdogs are calling for full investigations into the rendition and possible reparations for other victims of unlawful state actions. Coalition 3. Diplomatic tension. Relations between Kenya and Nigeria have cooled. Behind the scenes, British diplomats, who are kept in the dark when a UK citizen was detained, are pressing for answers. And here's the twist. President Ruto's administration is now under scrutiny. Even though it wasn't in power during the operation, it must now clean up the mess left by Uhuru Kenyatta's government. Studio microphone, we inherited this situation, a Kenyan official was quoted saying, but the courts have spoken. We must uphold the rule of law. Meanwhile, in Nigeria, the federal government is silent. But the silence speaks volumes. In the court of public opinion, a fire is already spreading, especially in the southeast. Speaking head IPOB supporters are calling for full exoneration and immediate release of Nnamdi Kanu, who still remains in detention in Nigeria despite the judgment. And here's the real danger. If nothing changes, this ruling could ignite a storm of unrest. People have been silenced. But now, a court has given them a voice. And they are not letting go. The court exposed the surface. But underneath, there's a network of shadow actors, diplomats, agents, ministers, who turned this into an international scandal. Let's peel back the layers. Busting silhouette first, the political heads. Uhuru Kenyatta, then President of Kenya, was in office when the abduction occurred. Muhammadu Buhari, then President of Nigeria, immediately took credit for the capture. Coincidence? Or coordination? Man detective, but it wasn't just them. Intelligence sources name Kenya's Directorate of Criminal Investigations, DCI, and Nigeria's Department of State Services, DSS, as collaborators. They reportedly bypassed legal channels, operating in secrecy to ensure no paper trail. It was surgical, fast, illegal, and effective. But in trying to erase Kanu's voice, they left fingerprints everywhere. Open file-folder leaked documents suggest meetings between Nigerian operatives and Kenyan security officials in Nairobi weeks before the abduction. Surveillance, phone intercepts, and finally, a takedown in broad daylight. Studio microphone barrister Ejimeka later revealed that British authorities were deliberately not informed, even though Kanu is a UK citizen. So, who was protecting who? Did some foreign governments know and look away? And why was a man, wanted for leading a nonviolent separatist movement, treated like an international terrorist? Because when truth challenges power, power doesn't play fair. Now comes the question burning in every supporter's heart. Will this ruling lead to Nnamdi Kanu's release? The answer is complicated. Legally, Kanu's detention in Nigeria is now built on sand. His arrest, his rendition, his trial, all are tainted by the court's finding of illegality. According to human rights lawyers, any trial based on an illegal rendition is null and void. Studio microphone, you cannot commit a crime to prosecute a crime, one legal analyst said. But here's the catch. The Nigerian government isn't backing down. Kanu remains in DSS custody. His trial continues, in defiance of international norms. Why? Because freeing Kanu now would mean admitting the state was wrong, not just legally, but morally. And in the world of Nigerian politics, that's a dangerous precedent. But the pressure is mounting. The UN has asked for immediate review of his detention. The UK, embarrassed by the mishandling of a citizen's rights, is quietly pushing for a diplomatic resolution. And IPOB has vowed to escalate international campaigns. Street protest, social media storms, diaspora movements, court filings from Lagos to London. What started in Nairobi may end in The Hague. And the bigger question: if Kanu is released, who else will face the fallout? The court has spoken. The people have risen. Now the world is watching. And justice is just getting started.
My people, don't hear them now. What do you make of it? Drop your comments. But remember, it's Biafra or nothing. Bye for now.